One of our functions is around research and advocacy and trying to make sure our laws are still fit for purpose and are still relevant and doing their job within the community. And the Racial and Religious Tolerance Act is one piece of legislation that's now almost 20 years old. There haven't been very many cases that have been brought under that legislation. And whilst we've provided quite a bit of dispute resolution and resolved matters, we would have expected to see greater change in the time that that legislation has been around than what we have. So we think it needs to be improved and strengthened. Now, there's a parliamentary inquiry that's going on at the moment into how can we as a community improve vilification laws, how can we address hate crimes and hate speech and hate conduct more effectively, particularly when it's online. And so what the Commission did, and this is one of our key functions, is we went and consulted with a whole lot of different groups about their experiences of hate. We did this through focus groups and also through an online survey, and tried to get a better picture of those experiences and to ask people what better protections were needed, what's the impact of some of this conduct on them, and how can we change and improve things. So we've made a submission to the parliamentary inquiry that's looking at this piece of law reform, and essentially we want the vilification laws to be more extensive, not just to rely to people from particular racial and religious groups, but to also apply to members of the LGBTIQ community, people with disability, to women who we know are experiencing online hate, and to broaden the remit of the Act. And we also want the test for vilification to be easier to establish, because it's very difficult now to establish that vilification has occurred. And we think that needs to be reformed, and in fact that a harm-based test needs to be introduced. So without getting too technical, instead of you having to prove that a third person was inspired to hate a particular group, we are suggesting that the law really should reflect how it feels on the individual that's impacted by hate speech or hate conduct, how it feels to them if they're offended, if they're insulted, if they're humiliated, if they're vilified. It needs to be that they can make a complaint on that basis and not have to rely on whether or not that conduct has inspired a third person to hate, which is the current state of the law. So it's technical, but it's actually really important, because if people can't meet the tests in the legislation, then people won't use it. So that's a reform that we're also seeking really strongly to change in Victoria, and we'll see how that goes.